Welcome back to Baker Street with Sherlock Holmes. And we're here from the ballroom of the crime to do some experiments on the clues that we found. So I think that's over here.
I need to analyze the evidence found at Sherringford Hall. A piece of white cloth, a small box, various powders, and finally the hair. Let's get to work.
All right, so we need to open up our inventory, and we'll start with the white cloth, I guess.
To analyze the nature of these stains, I must first soak the cloth in a solution of soap and water.
Okay. Let's put it back, grab the water, and spirits, acid, soap. Okay. Now what?
To analyze the nature of these stains, I must first soak the cloth in a solution of soap and water.
All right. Well, we put it up there. We must have to turn it on. Okay.
Now I shall place this cloth in the solvent.
Okay. What happened? There's the cloth.
Now I shall place this cloth in the solvent.
Oh, right. Didn't we already do that? No. We didn't put solvent in. We put soap in. Okay. Turn that on.
Now I shall place this cloth in the solvent. The stains are sticky, but not very oily.
Okay, sticky but not oily.
Let's examine it under the microscope. A very fine white cotton.
Okay. What does that mean? It disappeared. Do we have results of that? Here it is. Okay. It's a piece of dirty cloth found in the ballroom, very fine. White cotton characteristics to army officer gloves. Oh. All right. So that's the white cloth. Okay, now he listed powder taken from the door frame. So powder, white powder. I think it was a dark powder, wasn't it?
What would be the reaction if I heated this powder?
Well, I don't know. Let's try it.
Burnt gunpowder.
Ooh. And again, it disappeared, so. Powder found in a corridor to the kitchen is no doubt gunpowder. All right. So now, next, we had a dark hair.
Let's examine it under the microscope.
Let's.
A man's hair.
That was it. A man's hair. Okay. On the corner of the kitchen, the black hair found in the furniture is oily, maybe due to the use of brilliantine, hair of a man. Brilliantine, is that some kind of product? Must be. Okay, so we got the black hair. And then we have, what next? We got a cigarette, white powder, small box with white powder. What do we do with that?
Let me study this more closely.
Okay, how do you do that? Oh, maybe we have to use our own magnifying glass.
A box containing some white powder.
Okay, now the box is gone and the white powder's out. But there's three different white
under the
powders.
Microscope.
He wants to, what? What did he say?
Let's examine it under the microscope.
Okay. Nothing happened. But there's 3 of them. How do we know we got the right one?
Let's examine it under the microscope.
Oh, we can combine them. Or compare them. All
Let's
right.
examine it under the microscope. These powders are similar. I can see it from the grains.
They're similar, but now it's all combined together. So what do we do with it now? Heat it up, maybe?
What would be the reaction if I heated this powder?
Hey, that's what I was thinking.
It has no effect.
Oh, great. No effect. So that didn't work. All right.
Let's mix some water with this powder.
Okay. We had to do that up here, didn't we? All right, let's put that there.
Let's mix some water with this powder. A glue or pasty substance, like starch.
Okay. And it disappeared. Rice powder. Very pulverulent. Resembling from the far gun powder, but not offensive at all. Could have been used due to the quantity to conceal the presence of the gunpowder. That made absolutely no grammatical sense. All right. Well, we did what we were supposed to do. Okay, so let's check this hair out.
Let's examine it under the microscope. A light feminine perfume. It seems to me that we have gathered all of the key elements, Watson. However, before we retire, let's summarize our findings. The questions should be answered yes or no and justified by the evidence or testimony received during the investigation.
Okay, so we have to do a quiz. To answer a question, first choose yes or no by clicking on it. Then browse your testimonies, reports, and documents on the left page to find the one that contains the justification to the answer. Okay, so we have 3 things over here. We got the blue, the red, and the green. And, you know, each one is, we talk to somebody, we have some kind of notes or evidence or some indication of proof, like a guest list, a book, something like that. All right, so but first, we need to find the questions. And I found this accidentally by scrolling. It doesn't give you any indication of what to do, but you use your scroll wheel, and that gives you the questions. So we'll start with number 1. Do we have an idea of the weapon used for the crime? Yes, we do. It was a gun. And then we're looking for a blue answer or proof. So we go to blue, and we start looking at people we talked to. And the first person we talked to was this Colonel Patterson. Well, we talked to the doctor and some guy. They didn't know anything. But the first person we talked to that mentioned the gunshot was the colonel. Not the first time, but the second time we talked to him. Because the first time he said, I ain't telling you nothing unless you're my superior or, you know, such and such. We'll try this one. So we just click on that, put it there. Next question. Could the murderer escape through the stairs going to the 2nd floor? Now, this one is, again, somebody we talked to. And I think it was Mary, the one that was scrubbing. She was there by the stairway. She would have seen somebody, and she didn't. Okay. The ashes found in the smoking room are from an English cigarette. That, I thought they were from an Indian cigarette, so I'm going to say no. And let's see, we've got red. Let's see, I'm looking for one that mentions a cigarette. Didn't we find one outside? Cigarette. Okay, in the garden outside the service door, a cigarette butt with white, flaky ashes. The name is only partially visible. Sure. So we'll take that. And then we need a green one. And study of tobacco. All right. Number 4, was the side door going to the kitchen open after the shot? None of the doors were open, I don't believe. So we're going to say no. And it was that guard that said he was going to, you were going to need a doctor if you tried to get through, if I'm not mistaken. What was his name? This guy right here, I think. Number 5, did Miss Lambert choose tablecloths? No, because at one point, I think it was Mary that said, was it Mary? I think it was Mary that said that the French guy chose the blue ones, that they always used the white ones, but the French guy chose the blue ones. And I think it was Mary. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. It was the old woman that was, oh, I wish the French guy was here. He was so good. Yeah, it was him. So let's put her in there. And then there was somebody else. Somebody we talked to. Was it the cook? I think it was the cook. Because he was complaining about it. And then we have to click no. Okay, number 6. Do we have an idea of the murderer's height? Yeah, we do, actually. And we need a red thing and a green thing. So the green thing, something in the ballistics book said something about how you could tell the height of a man from where the gunpowder stains were. And so we had the height of the gunpowder stains on the door. So let's go with that. And then we need a red one. Who did we talk to about the... there was a clue that we found some height someplace. Pretty sure. Here, right here. In the corridor of the kitchen, powdery residue found in the door frame leading to the ballroom at a height of 1.65 meters. So that's what I was talking about. That gunpowder, according to a ballistics report, would tell you how tall the person was that made the shot. Okay, and then is this the last one? Among the interrogated people, did any others than Colonel Patterson have bad eyesight? This one I distinctly remember because if we look at the, was it green? At the guest list had markings on people that were hard of hearing, low vision, that kind of thing. So we're going to use the guest list. And then who else did we talk to about that? I think it was Miss Lambert, the woman on the doorstep outside. I think we talked to her about that because she's the one that told us about the guest list. Okay. Now I think all we have to do is leave, and if we got everything right, Holmes will like it. If we don't, he'll say, "Oh gosh, you've made a mistake."
It is simplicity itself, Watson. We have answered all the questions. My dear Lestrade, I congratulate you on the precise quality of your notes. It is true that you have missed everything of importance, but you have spared me the trouble of eliminating the trifles and pointed me in the right direction. I hear familiar steps on the stairs. Please be seated, Watson. You must be famished. Lestrade was kind enough to bring a copy of his notes, hoping it would be of assistance in this affair.
Indeed.
You can study them now and enjoy your meal. Please take your time, Watson, because bad digestion weakens our ability to reason.
Holmes, you will get no argument from me, as this dish is delicious.
We will go to Sherringford Hall with Lestrade when you're finished with your meal.
I must read the documents Holmes gave me.
Okay, so he wants us to read. We're watching now. He wants us to read the documents that Lestrade had. So let's see where we have those. Would that be here? Yeah, these would be it right here. Okay, the first one is the crime. Report of Lestrade. Before 11 o'clock in the evening, Sir Melvin Bromsby, engineer, architect, and contractor of renown, was slain by a single gunshot in his mansion, Sherringford Hall. The crime, the author of which is still undetermined, took place in the ballroom during the reception arranged by the victim in honor of his daughter's return to England. She had spent the last several years at finishing school on the continent. Despite the presence of 100 witnesses, no precise testimony was obtained regarding the exact circumstances of this horrific act. Nevertheless, based upon certain evidences, there is a presumption of suspicion towards the daughter of the victim, Miss Lavinia Bromsby. Right, the next one, instrument of the crime. Instrument of the crime, the bullet extracted from the corpse of the victim corresponds to the caliber of the revolver found in Miss Lavinia Bromsby's purse. This purse, found on the floor, was near the door from which Miss Lavinia first appeared after the mortal shot was fired. All of the witnesses agree that the sound of this shot originated at or near this very same doorway. The revolver is an old small-bore Wright, which is also a highly reliable weapon. This would explain why the only shot fired was mortal, despite a distance of several dozen feet and a difficult angle. Miss Lavinia claims that the victim personally gave her this revolver before the crime, for the purpose of her protection against some unnamed threat. This account can be supported by the fact that those models are impossible to find on the continent where Miss Lavinia has spent these last years. Premeditation can be excluded if she is found to be the murderer. All right, the motive. The victim, even if he had few or even no friends, still might not have enemies capable of committing this act. His strong unpopularity among his domestics was compensated by the attractive wages he paid them. His business partner spoke of him as a tough but fair player, according to the criterions of this environment. The facts that he spent long years in India and was solely devoted to his business precludes any crime of jealousy or passion. Finally, the modus operandi doesn't correspond to the typical revenge killing. By this or that Hindu sect through these things do happen. What? The motive then must apply to his holdings or something quite personal. Another line of reasoning that points to Miss Lavinia Bromsby. According to H. Grimble, the partner of Sir Bromsby, her relationship with her father had become so strained that Sir Bromsby visited his daughter only once during these past 6 years. A local constable must contact Mr. Fowler, the attorney of Sir Bromsby, in order to recover the essential parts of his last will and testament, if it exists. The development with regard to the distance and the angle of shooting, it would be reasonable to suppose that only an expert marksman could have succeeded in making such a shot. But the factor of probability still exists and admits other possibilities. The testimony of the group of cabmen who were in the ideal place to have observed such matters saw no one leave through the service door after the shooting and up until the time when one of the domestics locked it from the outside. All the windows are equipped with thick bars, and the fortuitous presence of the maid at the stairwell indicates that no one ascended to that floor. The testimony of Miss Lambert, the governess, indicates that she noticed only 2 people absent from the ballroom during Sir Bromsby's arrival: Mr. Horace Fowlett, the victim's attorney, and Miss Lavinia Bromsby. The domestics have been specifically instructed that all guests were to be present during the Sir Bromsby's entrance. I have been persuaded by all accounts that anyone who had left the ballroom had returned before Sir Bromsby's entrance. Since Horace Fowlett hasn't gone through the gates of mansions of the hall, the only person whose movements were unaccounted for at the time of the shooting is Miss Lavinia. The chivalrous testimony of a young infantry officer who has confirmed that he saw her standing at the threshold of the door can be the only reason for not charging her with murder. As Miss Bromsby was in a state of deep shock last evening, according to the local doctor who examined her, her interview was delayed until today. Scotland Yard report. General information about the man called Sir Melvin Bromsby. No appearance set as a witness in a criminal or civil law case. Complainant as to a robbery committed at a fair island in St. Bartholomew in 1861. Judgment of the court was favorable for the Crown. Melvin Bromsby. Dear Sherlock, here is all the information that we know about this late Mr. Melvin Bromsby. Born in 1842 in Staffordshire of a modest family, he finished his studies of architecture and civil engineering owing to the scholarship and financial assistance of his elder sister, who owned a florist shop. After he was awarded his diploma, he was employed by a small firm, which he later left for a large enterprise, the Salinger Company. In 1872, he was sent to India to assist in the construction of a bridge for the army. At the end of this project in 1874, he left his position with Salinger and founded his own enterprise in Bombay. At that same time, he courted Carlotta Campbell, the second daughter of Colonel Campbell, commander-in-chief of an important local garrison. The military appointed Bromsby straightforward. The military appreciated Bromsby's straightforwardness and business acumen. Thus, the army entrusted him with very many contracts for constructing barracks and other types of work. In 1877, he was married to Carlotta. His business flourished, and he hired a young accountant, Mr. Grimble, who later became Bromsby's personal assistant. An ideal candidate for the position, Grimble excelled in his various administrative tasks. Mr. Bromsby's business has continued to prosper over the years. In 1879, Carlotta Bromsby née Campbell died, giving birth to their daughter Lavinia. Bromsby's business enjoys great success. However, the fact that he has been awarded nearly all of the Army's civil contracts has aroused the jealousy of his and suspicion of other British businessmen in India. It has been rumored that he gained his fortune through the exploitation of his Indian laborers and British workmen, poor working conditions, and miserable wages. In 1884, upon learning of the death of his older sister, he decided to return home and prepared the transfer of his business interests to England. He also inserted his money in several cement factories, which permitted him to reduce his costs further and thus increase his profits. In 1891, he sent his daughter to study at a finishing school near St. Moritz in Switzerland. She has just returned to England several days ago. He was awarded a knighthood in 1892. There are several cases where his name has been mentioned because of suggested fraud with his contracts and ill usage of convict laborers at his factories. Such practices are common in London, and his wealth allowed him to avoid scrutiny by the courts. Thus, when his behavior is weighed within the current climate of commercial morality, he is neither angel nor demon, assuming his business assets are included. Assuming his business assets are included, his current fortune would be measured in the tens of thousands of pounds. That would make him one of the wealthiest contractors in Britain. I wish you good luck in this case. All right, that's it.
All this is very interesting. According to the evidence, it seems that the shooter was not in the ballroom or the corridor. Where was he then?
Are you finished, Watson? Shall we go? Let us return to Sherringford Hall.
All right, we're going to stop it here. We'll continue on in the next episode. Hope you had fun. Hope you join me then. Ta-ta for now.